Now, this year's quarterback class is about as deep as we've ever seen, and I believe there's going to be multiple stars that are born from it. But there is one guy out there who, in my opinion, has the game that will translate to the NFL the best and the quickest. And no, that isn't phenom Caleb Williams, but it's an old head who has a big game on Monday night. That's right, Michael Penix Jr. Now, I am by no means, okay, before everybody comes in here and starts yelling at me, saying that I think Caleb Williams is overrated or that he'll be a bust. The man has more tools than Tim Allen's garage on home improvement. But when it comes to trust, I'm talking about big trust, and performing in the biggest moments, I think Penix is the best bet early. Now, he's not only faced adversity, but he's overcome it after getting hurt multiple times at Indiana, where he started to resurrect that program before it fell off a cliff with Tom Allen. But when Washington has needed his best, he has delivered every time. His arm strength is elite, we know that. But even more importantly is his ability to diagnose and dissect. See, he understands the game on a granular level, and there isn't many coverages, fronts, late safety rotations, or movements that he hasn't seen. I mean, after all, the guy has played in college football for almost a decade. And while his escapability outside the pocket isn't as witchy or flashy as Caleb Williams or Jaden Daniels, his ability to maneuver within the pocket is NFL ready. Now, as far as trust and leadership in the locker room, you don't have to worry about Penix Jr. asking for 25% of the organization. He only uses paint and nails when he's redoing his kitchen. And the only time he's ever cried in his mama's arms after getting spanked was the day he was born. So y'all can take Caleb Williams, and you know what? You may be right. But I think the best bet for the best quarterback prospect in this draft class, as far as the NFL's related, that's Michael Penix Jr., the left-handed assassin. Speaking about assassins, the Statesboro/Ann Arbor assassin, no, that isn't a serial killer nickname.
Only on the football field.
Is former Michigan quarterback David Cohn. To my left, my brother, former Western State, Colorado wide receiver Blaine Crane, where they literally played on a field that was right next to the Grinch's cave on top of a mountain.
It was cold.
David, tell me why I'm right or why I'm wrong.
I love what you're saying over there.
Okay,
I love Michael Penix Jr.
Here it comes.
No, I think that this is going to be the most historic quarterback class we see in quite some time. A lot of these guys are going to play on Sunday moving forward. You look at this right here with Michael Penix Jr. and Bo Nix. Michael Penix has played in college for 6 years. He had 6 seasons. Bo Nix has had 5 seasons. That's how it used to be playing quarterback. You would get better every season, go into the NFL, and then you would develop along the way. Michael Penix Jr. the last 2 years, 4,600 yards, 31 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. That was a season ago. This past year, 4,600 yards, 35 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, 65% completion percentage a year ago, 66% completion percentage this year. That is showing growth to me. I think he's the best pure passer of the football that I've seen in at least half a decade. I think you could put Joe Burrow up there too. But then you look at someone like Bo Nix as well, 4,500 yards this year, 45 touchdowns, 3 interceptions with a 77% completion percentage. You break the record for completion percentage. A lot of people are going to be looking at these guys because they have a couple extra years over the Drake Mays and the Caleb Williams and saying, look, maybe these guys can come in and play right away, even before the upside and the athleticism that we see with like a Drake May, Jaden Daniels, or a Caleb Williams. I don't think you can go wrong. I think it's going to come down to circumstance and the teams with where they are in the draft order. But if you're looking at a franchise like the Giants, if you're looking like you're the Broncos, you could take any number of these guys, right?
Oh, without a doubt. And I want to get to the running ability element because I think that's something we look at in the NFL and we need to kind of address because I think there's some parts where it is overrated. But since it is the year of the dragon, before I get to them, I'm going to let you know the rules. If you're watching for the first time, I cannot use this man's government name on my right.
He always does.
How many times?
2.5.
2.5.
He always does.
So I can only say it twice.
Worry.
I'll refer to him as Flaming Dragon or Flaming. So let's go ahead and run the graphic. Let's get this party started.
This is Flaming Dragon!
You bad.
I want to be ninja. I want to be ninja.
You will be ninja.
You bad your sensei.
Flaming. When we look at the running element, people say, Caleb Williams, he's got the Mahomes escapability.
Ooh.
He can throw off platform, which Caleb can do all that. Again, I thought Dan Orlovsky had a great breakdown of Caleb Williams, and I'm by no means, let me say this once again, disclaimer, by no means saying that I think Caleb Williams is overrated. I think it's more of a compliment to Michael Penix Jr. But when we get to the running element, and that's kind of where some people separate, I understand that escapability is important. I understand that the RPO has kind of bled its way into the NFL a little bit. But at the end of the day, look at what happened with Anthony Richardson. Look at Bryce Young, right, not using the running element nearly as, even on quarterback sneaks when they bring in, the backup quarterback to be able to do it. We're not seeing quarterbacks in the NFL line up and run Q power, right? And Michael Penix, I think, is elusive enough to make a defender miss off the edge. We've seen him be able to reverse and spin out. But in the NFL, I would rather have a guy that can maneuver within the pocket like Michael Penix Jr. can with his eyes down the field, right? Or get the ball out quick enough because he's able to diagnose what he's looking at pre-snap. It either comes to fruition when the ball's snapped or it's something different where he can adjust. I would rather have that guy because I think that translates longer and better in the NFL, and people will bring up the injuries. Well, I'm not expecting Michael Penix Jr. to go out there and take off at any given moment, right? I'm expecting him to throw the ball away. I'm expecting him to roll out and take the underneath, throw the check down. I think his maturity level, outside of the nail painting stuff and the stuff we laugh at, his maturity level as a passer, his maturity level as a football student is at an all-time high coming out. That's where I think his value.
Well, where do you still win at quarterback in the NFL?
With your mind.
With your mind, and you win in the pocket. That's when you do. That's all the great ones do. And I think Michael is one of the things, when it comes to him, he has phenomenal feel.
Yeah.
Right? And field translates. And it never looks too fast for him. And all the experience he's had in college is going to help him out in the NFL when he gets there, regardless of the situation he gets drafted in. I don't think the game will be too fast for Michael. If there's one thing I believe in, I promise you this. If you wear a do-rag and you're down with a minute 15 seconds left to go against Oregon and you're freestyle rapping on the bench
I believe in
about
that
the drive
stuff.
you're about to go score.
I believe
Buddy,
in that
I
stuff.
believe in what you're doing. One, he doesn't turn the ball. And go back to Indiana. Like, he had success
Yeah, he did.
at Indiana. You can't use he just has talent all around him. Hell, they beat Michigan that year, David. Now, he had 15 touchdowns and 4 interceptions before he got hurt.
He made Indiana football cool.
He made Indiana football cool, which is almost impossible to do. It's like making Nebraska football cool. Nobody can do it, but we're waiting on somebody to try again. But Michael Penix right now, and I think a lot of it's going to have to do with this game because he's struggled in a couple games this year. You go back to the Arizona State game, they won 15-7. He hasn't looked perfect, but this run he's on right now. And if he tops it off and plays extremely well and beats Michigan, I wouldn't be surprised if he's the first quarterback taken.
This man at Pro Day, like, I cannot wait to see him. We talk about arm, but it's not just the arm strength. People just fall in love with that. They fall in love with the fastball, and that's great. But what separates Joe Milton and Michael Penix Jr., both guys with elite arm strength. Joe Milton may have the strongest arm in college football, if we're going to be honest. But Michael Penix Jr. is right there. But it's the nuance. It's the ability to layer the ball in between defenders. It's the ability to throw the whole shot, yes, but throw the lollipop fade. Be able to drop it in the bucket. He can arm punt his way all the way down the field, right? When it comes down to it. To me, when I look at the comp for Michael Penix Jr., I think he is a left-handed Phillip Rivers. That's what I think he is, with a little bit of a stronger arm. And if you look at the way they throw the ball, there's a lot of similarities in their form and the way they throw the ball when you really go look at it side by side. But they both get it out. They both anticipate really, really well. But it's the nuanced throws. That's the difference. Are you a closer or are you a starter? Are you a guy that comes in to face 3 batters and throws 104 and with a decent hook, just good enough where it makes your fastball that much better? Are you a guy that can go 7 innings and the second time around can fool them and make those pitches and pitch backwards and throw a changeup on 2-1 for a strike? Michael Penix Jr. can do all that, and I think his completion percentage is going to go up in the NFL because he's not going to throw it 800 times a game.
That's a good point, too. He would benefit greatly from being in an offense that doesn't have to throw as much. Look at the first half of this season. They had a 65% drop back percentage. The second half of the season, that went down to like 58, which was still over the average. But then they had Dylan Johnson, who we're going to talk about later in the show, started averaging 136 on the ground. And I think there's a lot of good points out there. I mean, for a guy who's had over 1,500 passing attempts in college, the next week that's coming up here is going to be the most important for him because he's going to play the greatest defense that he's faced this year. And there is some recency bias even when it comes to NFL scouts, even when it comes to guys who've watched all 1,500 of his passing attempts. They want to see what happens here in his last game. And not just that, but as we move forward into the Senior Bowl, right? Like Michael Penix Jr. is going to be there. He's one of those guys who's going to have an opportunity here to increase his draft stock over the most important 6 weeks of his life leading into the NFL draft. And as far as the injuries go, all you can ask a guy to do when he gets injured is to come back from that and play at the most elite level he's ever played at. Michael Penix Jr. has done that, over 9,000 passing yards the 2 years since he had his previous injury. Lamar Jackson in the NFL is a guy like that. For all the escapability we talk about, for everything Lamar Jackson brings to the table with his legs and having been hurt back-to-back seasons now, he's returned to that MVP type form, and he's doing it, like you said, from the pocket. That escapability and the RPO game that's crept into the NFL, that can get you out of some really tight binds sometimes. That can make Sports Center plays. That can even help you win a couple games here and there. But like you said, the game at that level, because defenses are so good and fast, is still won in the long term from the pocket. Michael Penix Jr. is best in the pocket.
Well, there's a reason they call it escapability. Because you only use it when you have to escape. It can't be your best move. You're not in the panic room business.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you're in the staying in the pocket and beating people through the air, going through your progressions. And yes, it's nice, but I think to be able to get out, but I think Michael Penix can get out when he has to get out. We've seen that before.
He has a creativity to him.
Yeah, he does. He's got a little bit of painter in him. We want to know what you think. Are we crazy? Would you take Caleb Williams number 1? Would you take Michael Penix Jr. number 1? The phone lines are going to open up 7:15 a.m. Central. We have no guests today, so we want to hear from you. We want to get to a lot of those. We've had a bunch of new callers. If you call in and the line's on hold, give us a second. We'll take a call and it should open up. Going to get to the Booster Club in a second. But instead of watching the game cast and getting pissed off at who's ever calling it Monday night, watch our live stream.
Come on.
We're going to try and sync it up as best as possible. We've got live bets going on. We've got a live chat that we're going to go to. We got this thing. It's a perfect machine.
David's also
now.
going to fight Dewey the Bear.
David's going to fight a live bear on the live stream.
So you go
Monday night. So make sure you're locked into Crane & Company. Tell your friends. You can tell everybody. Hey, YouTube, what's up? It's 2024. That's right. It's the year of the dragon. So if you haven't subscribed to Crane & Company, oh no, your house is on fire.